gonna make a go at it.
I used to spell your name wrong, Kylie. I used to spell
Oh,
it
okay.
Malusinic, but it's
That makes
Malusinic.
me feel better.
I,
That makes
I
me
spell
feel
my
better.
name wrong all the time. I'm not.
Do you?
I have no
All
ego about it.
All right, I'm ready. Are we ready to go?
I think we are live.
Let's go live. Okay, good deal. Hi, everybody. Welcome today to our Film Capital Cannes 2020 virtual conference. And today our panel is talking about conscious media, short form content. And we have three panelists today I'm getting ready to introduce. I will start with Aaron Guest. Raise your hand, Aaron, so we can see you there. There we go.
Hello.
And Aaron is first and foremost an actor, and we'll talk with him a little bit about that. He is also, hang on, let me get his bio here. He's a producer, screenwriter, and as we already said, actor, grew up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So he's kind of an upper Midwest guy. And he relocated to Los Angeles. I'm watching the smile on your face. He's worked professionally in film and television with notable shows like CBS Criminal Minds, ABC's For the People, Nickelodeon's Game Shakers, and Hulu's new series, Love, Victor, which we will talk about some of that. Aaron is now heavily involved in producing and as an independent filmmaker with several projects currently in development. Welcome, Aaron.
Thank you so much for having me.
And lovely to have you. And then next to next to Aaron is Kylie. Would you say your last name for me?
Malusnik. Malusnik.
All right, very good, girl. Kylie and I know each other a little bit from some prior work, and she is a young and tenacious producer who got her start in the entertainment industry at 16, where she founded a sports broadcasting program in Pueblo, Colorado. Beautiful country. She was handpicked to collaborate on the post supervising producer on Win Place and Show, and has produced numerous independent television series. Kylie made both her executive producing and directorial debut with Broken, a short form series that pulled in 2 Primetime Emmy nominations in 2018. Wow. Welcome, Kylie.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And thank you for pronouncing your last name. All right. And then we have Barry Simon with us today. We're very excited about that. He is president of the United Nations Associations of Southern California, and he happens to be working on a short form documentary called Conversations for Peace. Welcome, Barry.
Thank you very much.
Lovely to have all three of you here. And right now, all of you are in LA area, or all three of you in Los Angeles? Awesome. Well, really lovely to have you. What we're going to be talking about today is what is some of the questions we're going to be answering is what is the current landscape for short form producers, which is a big question. How do you monetize short form content? A very big question. A lot of people are interested in. Which winning formulas do successful short form content producers use? And what is conscious media? That's a very good question. What's the role of social impact in the film industry in post-pandemic world? So it is, really unusual times that we're working in, all of us right now. And there's been a lot of changes in filmmaking in general, and in the last 5 years, just with the digital format, social media, and the way we get the information out. What we're going to be doing today for the audience to know is I'm going to be asking some questions to the panelists. If you would like to have a question for somebody specifically or to the panel at large, please type in your question, which we will see and we'll ask the panel as we go along. We're going to speak with them for about 30 minutes, and then we'll do a Q&A with the audience and have some closing remarks at the end. So, Aaron, I would love to start with you and talk to us. Let's start from the acting side of content and tell us a little bit about your evolution through your acting career, when it started. You grew up in Michigan and now you're in LA. Talk to us a little bit about that transformation for you.
Yeah, of course. I kind of always been in this industry since I was very little. Started off in a theatrical background, as a lot of actors do. I grew up in a very artsy community. Didn't realize how spoiled I was until I left. They had tons of professional and community theater, and I used that to kind of grow and learn kind of exactly what stuff I want to be in and why I wanted to be in film and television. That kind of propelled me to move to New Mexico during the whole Breaking Bad phase. And then eventually moved here to Los Angeles, got connected with some really awesome people really fast. So that was really a blessing. And as hard as it is for actors to like get a part of projects that they're passionate about so early on, because I'm still like obviously building my foundation of my career, I have been very blessed to be a part of projects that I actually really care about, projects, and I really believe that it has everything to do with, you know, just being authentically myself, as well as what I care about. I make sure my team and everyone around me knows what I care about. I use my social platforms to make sure people know what I care about, and I think what that's done it's brought projects to me, and so it's been, you know, even for the level of actor that I am now, which I am a working actor, so I have been able to really audition and be a part of projects that are impactful.
That's lovely. I think I'm a believer that we attract who we are. So that, you know, how awesome for you at your age to be so authentic with your journey so far. So congratulations on that. What's the most recent project or acting that you've been working on?
Well, I got to have an appearance on the big talk of the town, Love, Victor, which really was a fantastic experience from audition to the moment it was released, because even though being on set for a day, I got to make friendships and relationships with the cast and crew that I still have till this day. And I can just tell you that they are some of the most authentic, impactful people I've met. And just to see how successful and how much it's impacting the LGBT community and beyond, I think it has everything to do with how kind and loving and how driven they all are for a very similar purpose. It's not like to make money, it's not to become famous. They're all like, you could talk to all of them and they authentically would tell you, we want to impact the LGBT community, make sure they're heard and seen. And I think that's exactly why the show is so big now. So.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Proud of you. Kylie, you started your broadcasting career in high school, and it sounds like you initiated something that didn't exist before, and you put that into the world, which is maybe a hallmark or trademark for you as you go forward. Talk to us a little bit about your journey from Colorado to LA, and some of the lessons you've learned in you know, educating yourself and what you're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I had lots of friends that went to film school right out of high school, and, you know, that went out and did a more traditional route. I went to college for 2 years and then realized, what am I doing? I could be utilizing my time and my youth and my energy and my passions that I have. And so I just moved to Los Angeles, and I wanted to see what was out there, and it's worked out for me so far. But as far as how I started, I just was in high school and I joined the journalism program, and there was like 8 people, and we played a lot of, we gave, I don't know, 1 newspaper a month, like put that on the internet. And I was like, this is kind of boring. Why not liven it up a bit? And so we just kind of started experimenting a little bit. And you wouldn't think that a 16-year-old girl from a small town in Colorado would be able to ignite such a big, you know, program within a high school that's already been established. But we did. It's a broadcasting program. Now there's like 250 people in the program. They added a whole nother wing to the school with a studio in it, which was not there when I was there, unfortunately.
It's named after you, right? Is it named after you? Should be.
I got a nice little plaque up there, the t-shirt.
Do you? Okay. Nice.
Yeah. And that was an experience in itself, being a 16-year-old girl pretty much standing up in front of, an activities director, the principal, going out there asking for money. Those were all really, really, really useful skills that I have now brought to Los Angeles and been able to put into projects that like Broken, the show that I got a few Emmy nominations for. It's all about breaking down stigma of mental illness. And I feel like the things that I learned in high school and being able to bring people together that for a project that nobody's ever done before, nobody ever like knows anything about it. It's really been able to elevate my career here in just those simple, simple, it's the cultural things, like the working with people, being able to have the right charisma and understand that this 16-year-old is different than this 16-year-old. Same thing with this 40-year-old is different than this 40-year-old. So being able to bring that together has really helped me a lot.
Awesome. Congratulations on what you've accomplished. That's trailblazing, by the way.
She's a prodigy.
You're a trailblazer. Female trailblazer. I love that. Barry, thank you for being here. You are president of the United Nations Associations of Southern California. That sounds like a pretty big title. And in addition to that, you're working on a documentary called Conversations for Peace. Share with us a little bit about your job responsibilities and then your decision to work on a short form documentary.
Great, thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be with you today. I really appreciate this opportunity. And I'm president of the UN Association of the USA here in Southern California. The UNA USA is part of the UN Foundation, which was created by Ted Turner with a $1 billion grant when he sold CNN to Time Warner back in the late 80s. And the UN Association was actually created by Eleanor Roosevelt when the UN was founded. It's grassroots, a membership organization, not affiliated or funded by the UN, although we do advocate on behalf of the important work of the UN and the importance of a strong UN-US relationship. Right now we're battling to preserve funding for the World Health Organization that this current administration is trying to withdraw funding for. I work with our 12 local chapters to support them and the events, the advocacy events that they put on monthly. Many chapters put on monthly events. We are currently this week meeting with our senators and congressmen. I was just off a meeting a few minutes ago with Congressman Ted Lieu from here in West LA area. We have a meeting scheduled Wednesday with Senator Harris. And we had a meeting last Thursday with Senator Feinstein. So we advocate on behalf of these areas and full funding of the UN commitments, of the US commitments to the UN. Through that, or part of what led me to that, has been my lifelong commitment to something that I heard in a seminar when I was 25 years old, which was the idea of a world that works for everyone with no one left behind. And we certainly live in a time when a lot of people seem to be left behind, and especially people of color. And so it's my Conversations for Peace project evolved from my commitment to that, to giving people an opportunity to come together and express their views on issues of the day and leave feeling better, even though nothing was necessarily resolved. And that was the basis of Barry Wayne's, my middle name is Wayne, it was Barry Wayne's venting event. We edited the public events into a half-an-hour local show, and that evolved to the current Conversations for Peace project.
And in that current project, Barry, tell me what you've done so far in production. You've done some traveling with it, I understand. Tell me where you are in the process.
Well, being a Jewish kid born and raised in Portland, Oregon, I always was annoyed by this constant strife in the Middle East. I never understood why people couldn't treat each other the way they'd want to be treated. And so I went to the Middle East, I went to Israel, and I, through colleagues and friends, I was able to have meetings with a Palestinian lawyer in the South, with a rabbi in the West Bank, with the mayor of Haifa, with a Palestinian office administrator and others, with the intention of putting together a full-length documentary. But I quickly realized when I came back that my own attention span and the attention span of many people is difficult to keep their attention in a full hour and a half or whatever documentary. I compliment the people that have done that effectively. There's been lots of good documentaries.
All right.
But I went ahead and created more 10 or 15 minute segments. They're standalone. They don't necessarily progress. They're standalone segments on the website currently. And they've involved those conversations plus conversations with others that I've had since then with other human rights organizations, representatives from different parts of the UN. I interviewed women from the only Muslim sorority in the US a few months ago, and their views and their experience of being young Muslim women in America, in Texas, in the Muslim sorority in Texas, and what that's like for them. So it's been eye-opening for me, and I'm getting some pretty good response to it. But the funding aspect of it is always tricky, as it is for I think everyone in the documentary or related world. So that's still a challenge going forward, and how to attract that and how to make that useful.
And where are your videos? Where are they housed? What's the website that they're at?
Conversationsforpeace.com. That's either with FOR or the number 4, conversationsforpeace.com. And there's 10 episodes up, and it includes a 5-minute piece on what does peace mean to you that was shot at the Santa Monica Independence Day Parade in July.
Certainly timely. It's
Yes,
always
thank you.
timely.
Thank
You know, those of us that have been around enough decades and lived through the 60s, you know, peace is always a word. It's always a conversation to be had. Every generation, every decade. You guys, let's talk a little bit about, Barry was talking about monetizing his film. And let's talk, first of all, and I'll open this up to all three of you. Let's talk a little bit about the definition of conscious media to begin with. And then from there, let's talk about how does one monetize that in today's world. So whoever would like to start off with the definition of, or giving us a little bit more behind the scenes on what conscious media means to you.
Well, I'd say that for me, conscious media is film and television kind of serving its ethical and moral purpose to represent humanity authentically. It's not just being woke. It's not checking a box to make more money, though you can make more money and there is ways to monetize it. And that's all to do with your target audience. But it's about adding to the social conversation. You have to understand your purpose and understand your points and know what you're adding to the conversation. And that has to be the core behind everything. It can't be about making money. It has to be authentically about the purpose. And I think that's what creates, you know, conscious media.
Something you're passionate about to begin with, something that's personal. How about you, Kylie?
For me, socially conscious, culturally conscious media is all kind of one and the same for me. And it's all about breaking down stigma, because that to me is where the real issue is there is a certain stigma around Black culture or Hispanic culture or mental illness or LGBT culture or even like cowboy culture. Like there's all of these different stigmas that people put those cultures into a box in their brain, and then they just file them away and they put them. So if you're telling stories about these different cultures that might not be in your immediate view, then right there in itself, without even having to like really put that much thought into it, if you're actively putting stories out that represent your perspective, then you're doing it right there. Right.
How about you, Barry? Talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Well, I think of it in the area of social responsible investing. It's the same thing. People can invest in ways that are socially responsible, or they can invest with no regard for that. It's great when I see a film that they show a family recycling, and recycling has nothing to do with the theme of the movie, but they're showing recycling, or they're showing interracial relationships. Again, not necessarily anything to do with the theme of the movie, but showing that exists comfortably in society.
I see.
And the extent to which films can increasingly reflect that is really important role for film and all media, I think.
I agree. Yeah. And then what about monetizing short form content? That's a big question for most independent filmmakers. What have you guys done for that to take your, you know, your vision to completion? What I know crowdfunding is popular now. What have been some of the forms that you've used for paying for it?
Well, right now, in my opinion, it's a incredible time for short form. When I started my short form series, Broken, 2017, like late 2017 is when we first had the idea. That was 3 years into the Emmys, the Television Academy, having that as an option, as like a category in itself. So that right there tells you how new it is. Now I think we're 5 years into it being an actual like realized genre and or type of platform. And I feel that with all of this like huge wave of opportunity for short form coming along, we don't even know how like all of the amazing ways that we're going to be able to monetize it yet. Quibi, which is a short form streaming platform, you used to only be able to see it on your phone, and which is great for kids. It's great that have all the Generation Z, early millennials that are able to watch it on their phone 24/7. But I mean, I'm almost 26, and I don't want to watch all my content on my phone. They just made it possible so you can cast it to any of your televisions or other devices. So that in itself, when you have those short form platform streaming services coming out with ways, like who knows, it could be Netflix next year. This is all, it's happening so fast.
It is, yeah.
It's
crazy how fast things change.
Oh, absolutely.
Keep going, sorry.
No, I mean, I just did a panel about making feature films for under $10,000. So it's possible to be able to make content for less. And then that means that if you do sell it, you will be able to make more money off of it. That's just math. But it's all about, you know, being able to pivot and being able to understand where your resources are, being able to be charismatic enough and personable enough to walk up to a rich looking person and say, hey, do you care about this subject that I happen to have a project about? Well, looky for you. So I think it's really about being perceptive and looking for the opportunity and then capitalizing on it.
I also think that the virality of short form content just is, it's tremendous. Like youth want short form content, they ingest content very fast. They get bored with the kind of television that I grew up watching. They'll get bored really fast. Watching my nieces and nephews get bored is really sad because their attention span wants more and more and more. And the ability to watch something that grips you quickly, that tells a story fast, to share it quickly. These are all tools you can use to like pitch a project. And and there's endless platforms. That's the other thing. You have to know what kind of platforms your project will work on. I also bet, I'm not necessarily always for sizzle reel, but with short form content, you can shoot a pilot. You can shoot one episode, which is 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and get a full story out. You have your project then. It costs way less just to do one, and then you can use that to get your rest of your season. And it's makes independent filmmaking a lot more possible in that way.
And how about you, Barry? What are your thoughts about popularity of short form content and the reach that it has into its audience?
Well, I think Aaron and Kylie hit the nail on the head. People's attention span is very short. They want instant gratification. We don't have the patience to watch a 20 minutes, half hour, let alone an hour and a half piece. To get the gist of it in 10 minutes or so is about all you can expect from people these days. And the extent to which there's, I believe, more and more of that, and whether it be Quibi and Netflix and other competitors coming along, doing live things on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, I think that's the way it's going to be. It's kind of, you may not get as much depth as you would in reading like the newspapers, the old days of a newspaper. The New York Times articles don't get it. USA Today had little paragraph stories, and that's what attracted a lot of people to that rag for a
Yeah.
while. So as far as getting funding, I think that's an ongoing challenge. There's a lot of competition out there. Kylie's exactly right. You see somebody that you might think have some deep pockets, and you can go and pitch it and mention it. And, you know, like Babe Ruth, might have had more strikeouts than anybody, but he also had more home runs. So
Yep.
keep putting it out there.
Barry, we heard about your Conversations for Peace that you're working on, and Kylie and Aaron, are you guys working on a project together? Could one of you
Yes.
talk about that a little bit? Are you able to talk about it?
Oh yeah, no, I wrote it. So
He's the creative. I'm the business. He's the creative. We make a good
yes.
team.
We're currently working on a short form content. It follows a very socially conscious message. It's been a really fun journey, really learning how to build upon a issue that we're passionate about and building it up for a wider audience to make it more sellable, to make it more marketable, but also to make it more impactful. It all stems from this fact that most young men in America feel like a harmful pressure on them to fit within this strict masculine culture, that they don't feel they fit. So it's this conflict that most men agree is there. And it's been interesting to kind of go from a film that's mostly about men, of course. It's got a male cast, and to then researching around the topic, who is impacted directly, who is impacted indirectly, what all the different areas, and finding information about these different types of women that are impacted. Millennial women's wives, girlfriends from all different places, and realizing the tremendous opportunity we had in widening the net of the impact, to make it not so niche, and create arcs in the story, and create elements that will resonate with a wider audience. So it's been a really cool experience to see how even in short form content, you can have depth that doesn't just hit a small market. And in this way, you can make more money. You can appease distributors more because you know your target audience better. So it's just been a very fun, informative experience, because we have other projects, and so this has just opened our eyes to tremendous opportunities to create deep social conscious material in short form content.
The beauty in that really is that you have now the short form content is generally streamed, or it's over the internet. So it's not like it's broadcasted to you. And over the internet, we've found in the last 10, 15, 20 years that like the niche that you think you had is not really a niche. There's like millions of people that believe and act and think like you do. You just didn't know about them before now. Now everybody has the opportunity to make socially conscious content, and they're able to find their tribe. They're able to actually reach the people that their demographic that they're trying to reach. And it's not just put out on one screen, and like the one screen you have in your town at the movie theater, or like the whatever 200 channels that people might watch. Now you can impact anybody at any time, anywhere in the world. And that is really, to me, the beauty of short form content within the socially, culturally conscious realm.
But with great power comes great responsibility.
That's a very good point. Where are you at in the process? Are you in production, or where are you at? You're writing it, or?
We just finished the pitch deck. We have a great team attached, and so now we're seeking financing for a hopeful shoot in September. If it's all COVID related now, so we are going to follow all the rules, and
when we can shoot.
And is it a series, or what's your plan for it?
It's a short film right now with potential and possibility to grow from there.
Gotcha.
So I'm doing the thing I was saying, where you do something, you create a solid project, and then based on reception, we will expand from there.
And Kylie, what's your responsibility on the business side? What are your duties, and what are you taking on?
Well, as far as far as we've gotten right now, obviously we've gotten through all the creative, which Aaron is a genius at. My job generally when it comes to the, supervising, producing, and executive producing really is getting the right players on the bus. Really is just making sure we're actually going out and finding people that are actually interested in this subject, and they're not just interested in a paycheck. They're interested in furthering the story that we want to tell. And I produce actually a short film festival every year called SISFA. So Story Mode Independent Short Film Festival. Or Short Film Awards. That is like it's one of my favorite events that I do every year. And this would have been the 11th year, though we are still on hold on if it will happen. We might just skip to year 12. I don't know, COVID. But that allows me, like, being able to produce a film festival that focuses on short films has really opened to my eyes to all the people out there that are trying to further their stories and make their brand more well known. And so I feel really connected to the short film community just through the festival itself, because I don't really have to go out and seek people that are also doing the things I'm doing. They just submit to us. So it's been a great resource finder for sure.
That's wonderful. So it's been 11 years that you've had that, or this is your 11th year of having that film festival?
My best friend, he started actually in his basement in Colorado, and it has now grown to one of the biggest venues in Southern Colorado, Pueblo Memorial Hall, and it's broadcasted. We get people fly in from all over the world to Pueblo, my hometown now, just to come to our film festival. So that's been really rewarding, and a great networking tool.
Very, very full circle for you as well.
Absolutely.
So you guys, with the pandemic going on and looking for funding for projects, which in LA, every other person walking down the street is doing the same thing. What's your procedure? What is it? Is it conversation? Is it networking? Is it how do you proceed in the current climate? Let's just put it that way, for taking the pitch deck, you've got that to get it to people. Are you like constantly networking, or how is it different than it used to be?
So for me specifically, my normal life outside of COVID is literally event after event after event. That's why I moved to Hollywood. Okay. I go network. That's my thing. I'm like a face-to-face. I like to have conversation. And to me, that's how I build, my network, my community, my film community, because I'm able to just go actually have an experience with somebody. Now it's been really interesting. I've just mostly been reconnecting with people that I maybe haven't talked to in a while, but I have seen nobody's out there filming right now. And if you are, it's still on the hush hush. And it's you can't get insurance. You can't get venues aren't open to come film in. So it's kind of weird there, but I've seen a lot of people. I had somebody reach out to me. They're doing animation. They're like, all right, we know we can't film, but we want to keep creating. So we have some animators. Let's try to get that together, because you don't have to film together. Or I've seen a lot of actor friends, actually. They've been doing kind of like what we're doing. They're making films where they're just sitting in front of their computer and they're creating films. So as far as traditional filming goes, I haven't seen a lot of people. We're not allowed. You can't film with masks and stuff. So there hasn't been a lot of filming, but I just feel everybody just amped up and ready to jump as soon as that we're given the okay.
I do know that.
Are they getting? Sorry. I was just going to say, are they getting close? Are there some dates by which are going on the calendar for production beginning again?
Well, I think they technically can start again. Production, everyone was waiting on the unions because, because to make film to sell, you have to have, some well-known actors is generally a consensus that, and then they're all union. So I'm union. So they've been waiting on the union rules, and they came out. They're a little intense. And I think right now,
a little,
yeah. a lot of it makes so much sense. I don't critique the fact it makes sense. It's just how is that going to be possible? So from an independent filmmaking standpoint, we are personally, Kylie and I and Ali and Carter, team of Carter, is just watching what's going on, keeping an eye out for the big players to see how they're going about it. I think it'll be important for investing purposes. What we're doing is finding your people, you have to find the people who are really passionate about either filmmaking or about your particular topic. It's just more important than ever to find those people, keep them aware of what's going on, add provisions in your budget because you're going to have to pay for all of the new regulations and
Safety, yeah.
Yeah, you have to hire new people, you have to hire a new person, there's zones, it's a whole thing. The document's available publicly if you wanted to look it up. But yeah, I think that's really the player. I mean, in these Zoom calls, I've done a bazillion of these Zoom calls with people. So this is the new event way of having these conversations.
Yeah.
Letting people know that we do have projects still going on and we do want to make film safely. We don't want to get anyone. We don't want to do anything dangerous, but we obviously are running out of content. I think Netflix has finally finished they have no more original content, if I'm not mistaken. So there's going to be a huge need and want for content.
Yeah.
And they're going to pay for it. So someone has to make it.
That's true. It'll ramp up. This won't last forever.
No.
Hey, Barry, for you on your documentary that you're working on, you've done some filming already, you said, and are you at this point looking to raise money for post-production, or are you still have some more production you need to do, or what stage are you in, and what's left to do?
Yes, yes, and yes.
I'll meet Barry. I'm interested.
I would love
Yeah.
There you go.
Kylie, I
I
want to
really-
talk with you further for sure, Kylie. You could be a great guide and coach and partner, I'm sure. I have been somewhat stopped the last few months. I did a live deal on Facebook about 3 weeks into the lockdown, and on a half hour of a conversation for peace, and then I got annoyed and I went into my head and I thought all these celebrities and big stars are putting stuff out there live on the web, and who do I think I am, and blah blah blah. So I pretty much stopped. I was looking at going through my 10 episodes and putting together a sizzle reel, but then I'm thinking it's like really, and so I haven't really done that. I've started to talk to a few people in phone calls or Zoom meetings that have deep pockets and could be interested and have a social conscience that aligns with mine, and to begin to open up the idea. So far, it's been funded out of pocket, and that cannot go on forever. That just doesn't work. And so, seeking sponsorships of companies or organizations that would benefit from people getting along better, or Tylenol, that people that get headaches that are very stressed out these days. So there's a wide variety of possible sponsorships or that could come along. But right now it's been, well, I'm actually interviewing somebody tomorrow for a segment that is a Black woman whose son was murdered by the police 10 years ago. And his picture was painted on one of the pieces of wood in front of a storefront in Santa Monica after the looting a couple weeks ago. And then somebody came by late at night the other day and painted white over it and obliterated the picture of her son that was on the board. And we're going to be meeting there and interviewing her about what's been her experience. And I've been interviewing people about what people of color, what has been their experience as opposed to my own assumptions. And that's been very enlightening, and I think it's worth sharing.
I've got a question from our audience, Barry. Does the UN have initiatives for conscious media? Is there any funding there at all for you?
The UN has its media department. They have not been particularly receptive. It's somewhat of a closed door. I've talked to some people there. I've talked to one of the affiliated media people. so far, the UN Association is not directly affiliated with the UN, so that's a little bit of a barrier there. I am working with the UN Foundation and trying to enroll them in the possibility of doing something together that would, because it's all about the same concerns and fulfilling the Sustainable Development Goals in the area of human rights, health, fairness, equality, gender balance, the whole deal. So there are possibilities, but right now the UN has not been particularly receptive.
And if the money were to show up, Barry, what is your timeline for finishing? What are you looking at for what's
Well,
left to do?
Part of my goal is to really travel the world, interviewing people on what would be possible if everyone could get along better, and having that be either a project that stands alone or is part of a Sunday morning show, this week at the UN, and highlighting different projects in the world. That number of hundreds of NGOs are doing amazing projects around the world. Children doing projects to clean statues in countries where statues have been run down. So there's all kinds of projects that don't get any visibility that make a difference. And I'd like to think there could be some kind of a tipping point where those projects get more attention than the strife that continues to permeate the media.
Great. Kylie, I have a question from our audience. When is your festival? I know it's not this year, but what are the dates of it?
Well, generally it is in the first 2 weeks of April every year. We're still in limbo for this year's, but the submissions open generally in November. It's Story Mode Independent Film Festival. If you Google it, you'll probably find it.
Okay, thanks. I've got a question from our audience. What do you guys think of Quibi? Is it Quibi for short content? I know we talked about it a little bit. What's your feeling about the future for that?
Well, I just downloaded it like 3 days ago onto my phone because I was like, we can cast it now? Oh, I'm in. I would love to have, if I don't see a problem with it. I think it's a platform for short form content. So if I've seen some hate online about it, and people are like, yeah, YouTube. But if there's another way for your content to get into the world, I don't understand why that's bad. And I've watched some of the shows. They've rebooted, like Punk'd, that Ashton Kutcher Punk'd show. They rebooted it with Chance the Rapper. So that's like a reality thing. Those are like 5 to 8 minute long things. Or they're scripted.
I do think it's important that good content is still made, and I think so. Like those shows are. And I think that was the biggest issue for Quibi at first, because I was very aware of looking at Quibi because I'm always looking for what is a place for short form content that's not your typical. And most of the critiques were in like, why we don't want this content, and so I think that
but nobody wanted Amazon at the beginning.
Yeah,
so
no, I'm talking about the actual users, like the people watching, and I think that because they spent so much money. I think they are now doing all these changes to. And I think it will become something. I think everyone's watching it closely.
How do you get your content on there? Is it like YouTube where you get a channel or something like that, or?
I think it's more like Netflix. Or like
okay. So
you talk to the. I think they buy it. I think they buy it.
I see. Okay.
But I'm not for sure on that. That's just my guess.
And I'm not sure, Aaron. Do you know? Does Quibi do short form? Do they? Do original content? I don't know if I've seen original content from Quibi yet, which is really how those other streaming services start to get money, is they create their own content.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if they do.
I'm not sure.
And what about Netflix? Are they taking shorts at this point, or what's Netflix got going on? You guys know if they're taking.
I'm more aware of like Amazon Prime being a huge. If you look at them, they're definitely more into the socially conscious shorts. Like they even Amazon's buying everything. So like even like Deku, which is a very like in the LGBT, which is my more like bread and butter, that content. That's like you can like even purchase to watch a film on Deku through Amazon. So I'm more aware of them and yeah, like YouTube and stuff like that.
Netflix has I've not seen short films, but they have shorter content series. So they've got a few like 15-minute an episode, which is still considered short form.
I think they're testing
it's-
too, and it's doing well. So I think that they're probably going to keep getting more.
Okay.
I like those
Well,
shows.
isn't even YouTube doing original content? Aren't most of the digital platforms now producing?
I think YouTube is still trying to figure its place in the world.
They're doing
Is
it.
that right?
They did
They're
it.
not
They figured their place in the world, but then everything changed, and now they're still trying to figure out how they belong. You can still monetize on it. It's just a lot harder, a lot more
True.
strategy. It's like crowdfunding, where you have to have like a huge campaign, your own marketing team, and driving people there. It's a whole thing.
So Kylie, what would you recommend to, let's say, new filmmakers that are passionate about, say, a cause, and like Barry, they're wanting to, have a visual story connected to it? What would be some of the steps that you would recommend that they, obviously you represent the business side of it, and Aaron's more creative side. Ideally, it's nice if you've got a little of each going on, but how would you say a young and up and coming film, say, producer or director, what are some of the steps that would be really smart for them to take on from the beginning?
I will go to my grave talking about how your network is your paycheck. If you, I mean, I get it's the experience that I've had, so it's the one I can speak from the best, but I mean, you hear it all the time. It's not, what you know, it's who you know. Because you can watch every masterclass, you can watch every free video on YouTube, every, interview with Steven Spielberg or Ron Howard or Guillermo del Toro, like anybody. You can learn how to make a film. You can learn to write. What you need is 5 seconds of confidence to walk up to somebody and say, "Hi, my name's Kylie. I'm producing this thing and I need money. So give me money so we can work together and then maybe make money." It's a confidence thing, really. And that's pretty much, the first film contact that I got when I moved to California was literally, I was serving tables at a bar. I was 20 years old and I overheard this guy who said he was a producer for commercials. And I was just like, that is the person I must talk to. And I had my apron on. I was still working. And I just said, "Hi, I'm Kylie. I have never been on a film set before, but I want to be a producer." And then we went and got lunch 2 weeks later. He said, this is what to do. This is what I was just taking notes. And I just think that it's best to, grow your network, share your network. If you don't tell every single person that you know what you're passionate about, whether that be making the films or the cause that you're making it about, if you don't tell people that you're passionate about it, then how are they going to know to help you? It's just the more you talk about it, the more you manifest it.
And how has social media changed filmmaking in general? Is it a positive? Is it more work? Or what are your guys' thoughts about? I mean, obviously networking takes place there. So how is social media, which is sort of new on the horizon for long-term filmmakers, is it going to be used as an asset? And if so, how?
Well, I literally just learned like an hour ago that because maybe 2 or 3 years ago, influencers were starting to really infiltrate the like short form acting scene. Like, influencers with like hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, where they're not necessarily actors, they're more personalities. And then the projects that were casting those guys as actors were not doing so well because the influencers weren't doing the best of acting. So I'm starting to see that we're going back to more of the like trained actors thing. So the number of followers you have isn't the most important thing as it was like a year ago. But as far as marketing for your short form content, it's free marketing. Like if you have the hour or two a day to dedicate your time to social media, you can make a huge wave. You can get a lot of people to see your content. And I mean, even if you're doing something like a crowdfunding campaign or something, I've had friends that have made so much money on crowdfunding campaigns because they're making so much content to advertise for their campaign, not even just for their thing. But in that, like while they are crowdfunding, they're creating a fan base that are
Right,
now,
right.
you know, invested in the project coming to fruition in the end. So I feel like it's a good thing. My opinion that it's a good thing.
And Barry, what about you? Are you social networking with this project, or just you know, in general? And if so, what platforms are you doing that besides, say, Facebook or Instagram?
Well, I think social media is only going to become a more and more major player in this whole world. You know, with people shut in, and who knows, or basically shut in, who knows how long people are going to be wearing masks and limiting distance and all of that. It could be a while. And so I'm an outside person. I love meeting with people personally. You know, I think I miss that. And meanwhile, social media is picking up a lot of this, and for obvious reasons. It's the only way to connect with people. You know, look how many, I've been on 3 Zoom calls today. I've got another one at 6 o'clock. And you know, so whether it be, you know, Zoom, Instagram, I'm an older guy, so it's still somewhat Facebook. But you know, all the new channels that come along, and there will be more new ones, you know, that I've not heard of. I could use a mentor that's that Kylie, what Kylie or Aaron bring to the table, to really let me say, do this, please. and let's run with it and really have things take off. So it's essential going forward.
Yeah. That's why networks are so important, and collaborating is such a critical part of filmmaking.
And
Aaron, what's in the near future? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Kylie's absolutely right about the need to network and using your, letting people know what you're up to. If, as she said, if they don't know what you're up to, you know, you might as well just be blowing in the wind.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a free platform, so it's, you know, a matter of building our networks on there and letting people know what we're about. So, Aaron, what's in the future besides this project you're working on? What's going on with acting? Are you able to audition, or how is any of that going right now?
Auditioning has been slowed down pretty heavily, but voiceover is still going pretty heavily. Pretty much just focusing on using social media. I was going to say that whenever the industry started out, you know, people would cultivate art, studios would cultivate artists, and they would build their whole market and career, and that all ended. And then we went to this whole phase where like the industry expected all these independent filmmakers and artists to build themselves up on their own accord. And that's very, very hard to do when you have to have someone say yes to anything for you to make content. And then we have the burst of social media, which is a hassle, but it gives you the platform then to build yourself into the image that you want to be. And so I have been using, I just kind of had like an epiphany moment. I won't lie, I've been using my Instagram to kind of be like, oh, look, I look like, you know, the 14-year-old, you know, hipster kid, like me. But then there was a moment when I realized, you know, as a filmmaker, since I'm moving into more producing, and we have a feature that we're working on as well, which deals with LGBT youth and taking care of mentally struggling families, and what that does to their psyche, and suppressing themselves to keep their savior figure in their family. Like, I have a lot of passion in those things, and so what's great about everyone staying inside and using social media is they're all very, very alert to social media, and so I've been using it and to kind of say the message that I want to say, to present the me that I want to present, because that's going to then bring projects and investors and
mhm.
opportunities are a way to continue to say the things you want to say and build the things you want to build. Because in the end, I want to look back at my career and know that the projects and things I've done impacted the world in a positive light.
Yeah, and you're building your brand,
Yeah,
one project at a
and
time, your personal
and I-
brand.
I think it's
Yeah.
important more than ever now then to be authentic
Yeah.
with your brand.
Yeah, and your legacy.
Yeah, for sure.
So you guys, what about the law that was passed the 1st of January? What is it, AB5 or the law
Yeah.
where how has that affected anything that you're doing? Have you had to set up a LLC, or what has changed with any of your professions? And that new law that I've read is really thrown a wrench into a lot of people's
I can
careers.
talk about it for a second. Kylie can
Mhm.
attest to that, because for independent filmmakers, that's really.
Mhm.
But then COVID all happened, and there was talk about it being repealed. So I don't know
Yeah.
yet what's happening.
I
We'll
haven't had
figure
to
it out.
worry about it yet. Now I'm scared to
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to worry about it, but I haven't had to
Mhm.
actually. I have an LLC myself already,
Right,
so
right.
but I don't think because I use it for not just production, because I use it for networking.
Mhm.
I help
Yeah.
people network. I go to events with people and help them network, and
Mhm.
you can't mix the two. So now I would have to start a whole
Right.
nother LLC for that. So we'll see. I
Yeah.
plan on asking people that know way more than I do about this subject.
Right.
Yes, that's what we do. We watch.
Well,
Always.
Barry, is there anything more that we can know about your project that you're working on that we're certainly happy to hear about? And is there anything more that our audience could be up to speed about it?
Well, if you have people in the audience have some particular areas of interest that they would like to share about, vent about, have their view be heard and appreciated, for them to please contact me through the conversationsforpeace@gmail.com or via the website. I certainly look forward to connecting with Kylie after today, and wishing both of her and Aaron great luck with their project. As far as mine goes, if somebody out there is interested in assisting me in developing the project and sees the value of people around the world being able to realize that we're all the same, whether we're in Ghana or Spokane, Washington, parents are still concerned about their kids being educated, their health, how they're going to eat that night. It doesn't matter where you are on the planet, the same concerns exist for everyone. And the extent to which I can be a resource and an avenue for them being heard and understood and appreciated, then that's great. And that's what we're looking to do. If you want to participate in that, please let me hear from you.
Great. I do have one more question from our audience for anyone, and it is, can you make a film nonprofit? And I could answer that myself, but what do you guys think?
Like a nonprofit organization? Or like,
That's the question, is can you make a film nonprofit is what the question is.
So you would have like tax incentives and that kind of nonprofit?
It's just an anonymous,
I think, I
Hmm.
mean, you could certainly make content for nonprofit. So I think I don't know that I can properly speak on the subject, but I think you would at least be able to make a nonprofit and then produce content from that nonprofit and release it.
I mean, I know very well that our intentions with our content is because it's very message driven, to go to nonprofits. And because, one thing that I'm all about, and I've been really working with this mentor on, is finding a core statement, like a vision. Why does your project exist? What is it trying to say? Taking a step back and really knowing what that core is. And if you know that, you can then go to nonprofit organizations and organizations that have similar visions, that have aligning visions. They don't necessarily, might not have the funds to be your investor, but you can help each other increase each other's
Awareness.
awareness. Like you
Visibility.
could make events,
Yeah.
they could hold events for you could hold events for them. So I know that's a way to kind of use a project in a nonprofit way. But if you normally have like investors, I'm assuming that they're probably I don't know, would want profit, but I guess I don't understand the question. Sorry.
It's a good question. And my production company, Heartland Films, is a 501c3, which I started 18
Oh,
years
cool.
ago. So all of the films we've made in that period of time have been, any investor is able to write it off. So it's just an
Oh, sweet.
FYI that it's an absolutely brilliant platform for making cause films.
Awesome.
And it's something I did kind of randomly when I started, and it has just really served my filmmaking really well. So it's something that can be set up, but it is also great for investors. So, well, I do want to thank everybody for your fabulous contributions today. I think we had a great amount of time together. Kylie, Aaron, and Barry, you guys are all doing, super important things in the world, and I applaud you for that. I'd like to have a closing statement from each one of you, whatever that is. Let's start with Aaron, and we've got just a few minutes left. Please give us some closing statement from you for our audience.
I just say that this is a more important time than ever to really just use your platforms to speak life into the world. There's a lot going on, and people are looking to media. They're ingesting media and social media to get a escape from the pressure. And so this is a great opportunity to really add your voice and alleviate some of the world's problems. Use this time for good. This is a time to be proactive and not slink away. So.
Thank you, Aaron. Kylie? Well, I guess I can part with my two mottos that I basically live by on all the time is one, passion breeds passion. If you're excited about something, it's a lot easier to get somebody else excited about something versus you working on something that you're not even like. I don't even work on big projects. Like I did do like game shows and other reality TV shows, but it's just people are working for the work, and you're working 17 hours a day towards no social change. You don't feel fulfilled at the end of the day. So I think really just work for the passion. And the other thing, the best way to get through Hollywood is if you share your network, you are going to grow your network. So if you are introducing people, say, hey, you know what? You need that thing. I know somebody that can help you. And then you help that person, and then they have nothing but, good things to think about. Like you're known as the person that's helping people around. So the best way to grow your network is to share your network.
Mm-hmm.
Coined by Kylie.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Barry? Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
Barry, do you have any parting comments for us?
You might be muted. Oh, no.
Did we lose Barry? Okay.
Smile and
Did
wave,
we lose
Barry.
your audio, Barry? There he goes.
Now?
Slightly.
I can hear you. You're a little staticky.
I don't know what happened.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. So basically, talk to strangers. That's my key. Talk to strangers. You never know what you'll discover if you don't talk to them. So talk to them. You don't know what they can provide you. You don't know what you can provide them. There's resources everywhere that you walk today. So talk to strangers. And sometimes we don't wake up with a real inspired automatic feeling. So I invite you to create who you're going to be each morning, because you're going to be bumping up into a world where there's not a lot of agreement from time to time. And you're creating projects literally from nothing. And so I really invite you to create who you're going to be that day. The possibility of being courageous and confident can make a big difference versus how you might wake up automatically. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you very much, all three of you. We're out of time, and I sure appreciate spending an hour with you together. So have a fabulous rest of the day, you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.